Miami. So y'all haven't missed anything yet. We're about to get started. I was just sharing who I am and what we're doing here. So again, you're just coming in, share where you're watching this video from. We're going to be talking about how to own your schedule as a school counselor. So these are some of the objectives. This is what we'll talk about in this session. And this one won't be a really long one, but you are going to leave learning how to identify the factors that you consider when creating your schedule. Sorry. We're going to talk about the essential duties that counselors should complete, just a little overview. And then we're going to talk about some tools that help you create and maintain your schedule. So if you are ready to jump right in, put ready in the chat. If you are ready to jump in, just say ready. And we get started. All right, so this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the intro, the logistics, and then you're going to create your schedule with me. Hold on, y'all. It's technical difficulties. Hold on just a second. All right, there we go. We're back in business. I think. Hold on, y'all. Again, if you're just coming in, we're talking about how you can create your schedule as a school counselor. And so we went over to the logistics. And if y'all are ready, let's dive right in. So before you start, these are some of the things that you can consider. Should consider your bell schedule. So you may or may not have this information yet, especially if you're a brand new counselor, you're not going to have this information, but this is something that you will definitely need in order to create your daily, weekly schedule. Because you want to consider all the things that are going on in the school setting already. You also want to consider your grade level. So this is going to look different in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And the last thing you want to consider is your electives, your core classes, and then elementary school, your specials or whatever, like the language that you use at your school. But basically your art, music, library classes like that. So these are the things that you want to think about when you're creating your schedule. But the main thing is your bell schedule. So let's talk about some of the things that you will see in your schedule. Oh, hold on, y'all. It's not working right. Hold on. It should be. Let me try this one more time. Sorry, y'all weren't able to see my screen. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. That's good. If you see my schedule, my sample schedule on it, there we go. Yeah, we're good now. All right. So the first thing you want to consider is communication. So what that looks like is you always want to plan in your schedule some times for you to look at your voicemails or check your voicemail, check your emails, answer any important messages that you need to from like your teachers, your families, your students, and all that. So you actually really want to factor that time into your schedule. And for me, I usually try to do it first thing in the morning. And as you can see on my schedule, I color code everything. It makes it look really cool and pretty. And it's like I print this out in color. So I put it on my desk and laminate it. So I always factor in time. Usually I do that first thing in the morning. So that's one of the big things, the communication piece. And then I always factor in some time at the end of the day to do that too. So communication is big. And if you have any questions at all in the chat, I'm going to be monitoring too. So please feel free to ask any questions. I'll stop in the middle of the training and answer any questions that you might have. All right, so after you've thought about your communication, then you want to look at your duties. So for me, I always put morning duty. So morning duty for me is like I greet students and then like make sure that they go get breakfast and then they go to their class on time. So that usually lasts about 20 minutes. And this is when the students are getting off the bus. So they see me in the morning, I wave at them, I greet them, make sure they get breakfast and go to class, all of that. So I always put that into my schedule. Also, so sometimes you're going to be as a school counselor, you're going to be like a parent will drop in or a family member will drop in and want to talk to you or something like that, but you're going to be unavailable because you have to do morning duty. But I always tell them like, hey, just take a message and I'll get with them in a few minutes if I can, if they can wait. If not, I can call them back. But either way, you schedule that. You may not be able to see it because it cut off here, but I always put afternoon duty on here too because I have bus duty. So I always make sure that that's on there. Lunch duty is another thing, so I put that in here. But the first step is this is what I was talking about when you need your bell schedule. So you sit down and this is just something I made on Google Sheets. So it's nothing really fancy. It's just Google Sheets. And I put all our bell schedule times in here, and I just put them in chunks, all right, on the left-hand side. So after you talked about your duties, what's at the bottom of the last hour of your schedule? So that's just the dismissal duty. So I have like bus duty, and I just make sure the kids get on their bus. So that's really all it is. FSA drip meeting. So I'm gonna explain that in just a moment. So that's not one of my duties. That's one of the other things that I'm gonna get into in just a second. But glad you shared that, Cynthia. All right. So again, you want to factor in your duty spots. So I put my morning duties in there. You want to factor in lunch duty, transition duty, all of those type of things. The next thing after you've done your duties is you want to consider, this is the big piece, the counseling services. Now, some of you may or may not have started yet, so you're not going to see a whole lot of things and be able to do this, but you kind of just, it's a skeleton. So it may not be exact, but here's the thing that I always consider. So I always start with individual sessions. I block off times that I'm going to see students. Of course, you never know when a student is going to come in and see you, but these are the times that I blocked in my schedule to do individual sessions. And these are right here, and I didn't color code these because these are going to be blank schedules or like blank students that are come in, like just walk-in students. Also, I want to factor in, so those are the individual sessions. Those are the ones who are drop-in. Now, I put right here in purple, you see my name is John. This is a very, like I didn't put any real student's name. But let's say that I have to meet with John. John is a tier 2 student who I see a couple times just to kind of get them in track. Because remember, as a school counselor, we don't do long-term therapy or anything. We do short-term interventions. But let's say that John is a tier 2 student that I have to see for some needs that he has. So I'm going to schedule in a specific time to see him on my schedule. So I put on Mondays that I'm going to communicate with John. He already knows my schedule, and I put about 15, 20 minutes on here. I put 20, but I factor in about 5 minutes for them to come in because, it takes them a little bit of time to come in and see you. But these are very specific times that I blocked off for students. That's why they're in purple. Now, remember when I talked about your schedule, your bell schedule? So the things that you want to consider, you want to think about in middle school. I try not to pull kids out of their core classes like language arts, math, science, and social studies. I really try to avoid that. So I literally try to pull them at electives times or like PE, stuff like that. So let's just say this was a time that I identified for John to come in and see me during his gym PE time. So you always put those in. Then I've got my groups. Now, when you start as a school counselor, you're not going to be able to do groups like immediately when you walk in the door. This is something that I factored into my schedule beforehand. But I identified a time that I'm going to be able to do a group. So I've got a girls group here from 10:45 to 11:15. That's just what worked out for my schedule. And then I've got a boys group here. You also want to factor in, so we've got individual sessions, we've got small groups identified here. If you do classroom lessons, you can put those on here too. So I've got another schedule when I was an elementary school teacher and I actually did counseling lessons. As a middle school teacher, I don't, or a counselor, I don't. The teachers actually do the lessons. I create them, but the teachers actually do them. So that's why I didn't put that on my schedule. Another thing that you want to factor in, this is our leadership team meeting. So any other meetings that you have, I've got that factored into my schedule too. Planning meetings for PBIS. I do all of our social media for our school, so I've got that factored into my schedule. And then here on Monday and Wednesday, these are kind of like office hours where I do sessions for students. Like I'll record a video and share it with the teachers, or sometimes it'll be like a drop-in. Like this is mainly when we had during the pandemic when we did Zoom. Okay, let me go back and see if there's any other questions. Hey, Brian, thank you for coming in. All right, I got that question already. All right, so next, so those are the counseling duties that I've got on here. Now you want to factor in some time to do classroom observations. This is something that I do heavily in the beginning of the school year. So I always go in and meet with the students in the classrooms and just kind of check in on them, see how they're doing. But before I do any classroom observation during in-service in the summer, I make sure that I talk to the teachers and let them know I'm not coming in to observe them. I'm really just coming in to see how the student thrives in that environment. So you want to do this to keep your teachers comfortable with you just dropping in. You want to build that culture and relationship with them. Let them know that they don't have to be on edge when you come in the door as the counselor, because you're not You're not reporting anything back to administrators. You're not like looking for things to like criticize or them for. It's none of that. It really is you just coming in to meet the students and just observe them. This also, so as you can see on my schedule, I did a lot of classroom observations right after lunch. This is a really good time that we observe in my school where, you know, sometimes you have some behavior concerns. Kids, they have a really good time at lunch and then they come back in the classroom and sometimes it takes them a little bit to get back off track or get back on track. So those are those times here, the classroom observations. All right, so after that, then you want to factor in some time for your lesson planning. You always want to factor in some time to do lesson prep. So I've got that at the end of the day. This is just like, so lesson planning could be for your classroom counseling lessons. It can be for your individual sessions, for your small groups, or any big projects that you have to do. For example, like this is a time when I make bulletin boards that I have to, or I do like award ceremonies, like print certificates and things like that. So it's like my administrative time, office hours. So I think that's everything. Oh, somebody asked a question. Let me go back to the chat. Let me see what they wanted me to share. FSA. So our drip, FSA drip. So what that is for us is our, it's like we have dropout retention intervention planning. That's what DRIP stands for. This is where we talk about those students who are tier 2 and tier 3 who need additional support, whether that's academics, behavior, or any of that. So this is the time where we meet weekly. The leadership team, the counselors, the nurse, the social worker, all of that. We all meet on Zoom or in person. It just depends. And we just talk about a running list of students that need support services. And that list always stays active. And we just talk about it. And then we have to check in with those students too. So that's what the DRIP meeting is, Cynthia. All right, any other questions? As you can see, also, I have a student council. So I have a time factored in here. We have a GSA. Our librarian works with me, and we do GSA meetings on every Wednesday from 8 to 8:30. And that's really everything. Now, the keys to making your schedule is this. This is just a blueprint. Now, to be completely honest, you can make this schedule and then something happens, a crisis or something that kind of derails everything. But this is just a blueprint for you to use. When I tell you, it really helps me to have this in front of me on my desk printed so that I can like kind of keep track of things. What is SM planning? Small group planning. Or no, so I'm sorry, social media. So I run our social media on our campus. So I do our Instagram and our YouTube. So yeah, same thing I do for my own personal stuff. I create those same lessons for our school. So this is a time where I sit down and plan, like, what am I going to do for the next couple lessons? Like, what kind of videos am I going to share with my students? Any way we could see that. What were you trying to see, Amber? I'm sorry. If you can share that back in the chat. But that's it. That's how I create my schedule. And I've got another point on here too, social media committee. So that's just like if anybody wants to join me. Sometimes I'll work with student council and they can help me plan things. Like, for example, when I did our mental health fair, the student council actually helped me plan that. And so that's that time. Prepping for intervention, that's when I used to have a group or I would meet on Zoom with specific kids. And it was kind of just like a drop-in, like a lunch bunch. And we just kind of chatted and did little games and stuff like that. And sometimes we would do activities on Zoom. The bottom of your schedule is blocked with the banner. Oh, that's just, let me take it off. Let me see. Yeah, because we're done with that part. Let me take it off. At the end of the day, that's really just my time for lesson prep and planning. And like this is a time where I also check emails and things like that. And then at the very, very end is dismissal duty. Okay. All right. So these are the things that I use to create my schedule. As you can see, it was really a very simple schedule that I use Google Sheets for. That's really all this is, Google Sheets. So I created this, printed it, color coded it on Google. And it really didn't take long. And if you can also use a desk calendar or a planner to plan out your schedule for the week and for the day, for like down to the hour. You can also search TPT and you can find some free resources. Like you can print those things off. Some people have got them listed. You can just download it on TPT and like kind of include your own if you don't already have a planner or a calendar that has this in there. So it's not something that's really, really like exciting to do, but it really helps, honestly, for you to have this in front of you and know. And the last thing that I want to mention on here, let me actually see if I got a question. For elementary school, is 30-minute tier 1 lessons doable in your opinion? Yes. But it really depends on your school, to be completely honest. When I was an elementary school counselor, I was actually built into the electives. So like I gave the teachers a planning period time. So the kids would either go to library, counseling, art, music, or PE. So I had a specific time that I would meet, and it was 40 minutes that we had. So the teachers had a 40-minute break. I had to teach lessons for 40 minutes, and I had kindergarten through fifth period. You can do a lot in 30 minutes. Or if you don't know how to structure that, stay tuned, because in the next couple weeks, I'm going to do a lesson, like a live session where I show you how you do the school counseling lessons. So I'm going to teach you like how you can plan your school counseling lessons with a curriculum, or if you don't have one. The main thing that I really enjoy is teaching school counselors how to plan when they don't have a curriculum, because some schools don't purchase something for you like Second Step or Character Strong, and you have to go in and create your own lessons. And I've done it to where I've done both, and I really enjoy creating my own lessons. Okay, but good question, really good question. And the other thing is, you really want to make sure when you're sharing your schedule that you send this out to your school leaders and your leadership team, so that they are aware when you are unavailable for things. Like, for example, if you know that you have a standing appointment with a student at 12:30 on Monday, and a school leader says, hey, I need you to do so X, Y, and Z, you can just send them this calendar or your planner already and say, hey, this is the time I have blocked off for small groups and individual sessions, so I'm not available at this time. And that'll help you and it'll help them. So you really want to share this with your admin team. Now, that was a really, really quick, and I'm going to keep looking at the chat if there's any questions. But the main thing with creating your schedule is make sure it's comfortable for you. And let me actually go back to it real quick for a second, because that's something I want to point out. So it seems like on my schedule, I have a lot going on. But like I said, this is really just a blueprint to help you make sure that you keep track of your time and you keep track of like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So one thing as a counselor, you're going to be able to have to like show data and show where you track your time. And so this is a really good first starting step to planning where you are. And if you need a copy of this, I mean, like I said, it's really, really simple. All you got to do is go on Google Sheets and create your own. But I may have one available as a free. I'll have to like download it and create something for y'all can have it for free. But I mean, because this is not anything like that took a whole lot of time for me to do, and I don't mind sharing this part. But anyway, like I said, you just make sure that you create your schedule, make sure it's comfortable for you, and you factor in all the major things, like look at your bell schedule, check your grade level to make sure that you have specific times that you can go in, and work around like the electives and your core classes for your students. Let me check the chat one more time. Do you stay pretty consistent, like small groups are always at usual times in individual sessions? Yes, for small groups. Individual times can vary because, as you can see, let me go back to it so you can see. That's a very good question. So as you can see on here, I've got a lot of times blocked off for individual sessions. I've got large chunks of time. And I use that as kind of like a safety zone, because if something else comes up, that's okay. So these are just my drop-in times. Like if the student comes in and I didn't schedule for them to come in, and let's say that they're dealing with something like anxiety or stress or anger, this is a time where they just come and drop in to see me. And this is a time that I have blocked off in my schedule to like meet with them. And that's not saying that I can't make anything else like work. And like, for example, if I'm doing my social media committee on Wednesday and a student comes in, I'm like, nope, I'm not available. I'm doing my social media stuff. No, some of this stuff can be rearranged. But the big thing is you just want to make sure that you have it available. But to answer your question, out for my small groups, I do not touch my small group times unless it's an absolute emergency. I leave those sacred because that's the time that I have blocked off for those students. And it's a 30-minute, I have 30 minutes blocked off, but 5 minutes is like factored in to get them to come in, because sometimes it takes a long time for them to transition to our spot. We usually meet in the library. And so, like I said, I plan for about 25 minutes in my small group session, but those I do not touch. That's a really good question. The individual sessions, you can kind of flop around with them a little bit, but my small groups, I don't touch that. That's a good question, Sandra. At the end of every week, do you create the next week's schedule? No, this is literally my schedule for the whole year. So this doesn't change. That's a really good question, Danielle. Lisa said, I share my Google Calendar with my schedule. Yeah, you can either share this. I share this. This is a Google Sheet where I just invite my administrators as viewers of it. I don't want them to change it, but as a viewer. Or you can do this as share your calendar, either one. Like if you have Google or Outlook, you can actually create your calendar and you can share it with them. That's really good. Let me see, make sure I'm catching up on the chat. Yep, that's really good. Hi, Yolanda. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And Gift just came in. Hey, Gift. All right. So I want to share this one. Like I said, this one didn't take that long because I really just wanted the main thing. I wanted you to see what my schedule looks like. I wanted you to hear my thought processes and how I create my schedule. And then I want to share a little bit about some of the upcoming professional development sessions that we're going to have. So let me share that here. So I sent out a poll on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, like everywhere, LinkedIn, and I asked people to like share what things that they need, because I love doing like virtual trainings. I love doing like creating resources for counselors, and I want to be able to give back. And this is also a way to like get my watch time hours of my YouTube. So like I'm trading off. I want y'all to watch so you can help me get my watch time hours, but I'm also going to share some really valuable information with you. And so these are some of the sessions these were the top 4 that people needed. So today we talked about how to create your schedule and organize your day. And I'm actually going to do another session like talking about organization in general. This was really just how to create your schedule. A lot of times new counselors are really, really concerned about like how to make their schedule, because it's really completely up to you for the most part. Like there's some non-negotiables as far as like when certain things happen, like leadership team meetings or like core classes and things like that. But for the most part, as a counselor, you're going to create your own schedule. So I wanted you to see this blueprint of how it's done. Our next session, we're going to talk about new counselor expectations. So what should I expect as a new school counselor, especially within the first week of school, the first month, the first 60 days, first 90 days. We're going to talk about like what you should and should be doing. That one's going to be a longer session because I know there are going to be a lot more questions, and I'm going to create a whole presentation and make it neat and pretty for that one. One of my most looking forward to, because I know that y'all need this so much, because this is what y'all shared you wanted, how to plan your tier 1 classroom counseling lessons. So this one's going to be probably a little longer. I'm going to share 3 different ways that you can create classroom counseling lessons without a curriculum. So I'm going to advertise it just like I advertise this one on all my social media channels. And I really, really want you all to come back and see that one, because I'm going to share a lot of valuable information on how to create counseling lessons if you don't have a curriculum. And the last one that you all wanted to hear is how to create a trauma-sensitive school. So I've got a presentation. I've already done that presentation, actually. So I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. But I'm going to talk about like what trauma is in a school setting, how you identify it, and what kind of interventions you can share for your students, your staff, and your families to help them like get better with those things. All right, let me see. Those coming in, I'm glad you share. All right, let me go back and make sure I didn't answer any questions. All right. I'm a new school counselor. Hi, Gift. I'm so glad that you're here. And as far as your mentor, like I said, I'm going to have some weekly training. So if you come in every week and get this information, I'm going to make sure that you're going to be ready for your school year. My goal is to have one a week up until August, and then I'm going to create a different schedule because I really like doing this, and I really want to have more time where I go live. If you're new to my YouTube channel, I share resources, tips on how to plan interventions and events for school counselors. But this is live. And I really enjoy the live interaction that you all have because I love answering questions. So thank you all for coming in. All right, Sandra. Elementary seems so hard to schedule all tier 1 lessons because if it's done during enrichment time, it seems like you will be stuck and have no time to cover others like small groups. Yes. So like I said, it really depends on your school schedule and the way that you're set up for your classroom counseling lessons, because I've been in a school where like I was actually put into the rotation for art, music, library, PE, and counseling. We was all part of the rotation. So that was set. It wasn't something I created that schedule for. Those are times where they were blocked off and I couldn't do anything about those times. I've also worked in an elementary school where you had to pick your own schedule. So I would actually send a time for teachers to identify when do you want me to come in and do lessons. So it really, really depends on what your schedule is. But that's really good, Sandra. I'm glad you shared that. Hey, Sharon, if this is your schedule for the entire year, how do you plan sessions for things such as say no to drugs? So with that, I factor that into my planning time. So like when I'm planning the events, I factor that into the time at the bottom where it's like my end of the day lesson planning and things like that. But if it's a whole if you're talking about like how do I plan it for the whole school, so I put that. Let me go back to it actually so you can see it. That's a really, really good question. So if there's ever an event that's going on in school, I look at these times where I've got blocked off. That's why I have these in white, these individual sessions. So I can easily take that time and say, you know what? I'm gonna block off that time for right now. And I'm not gonna see any students and I'm gonna do event planning right there. So if I'm gonna do like a program for the school, like I actually have a program where they come in the auditorium and I do a lesson or something, or we have a speaker, I'll put that in certain times. So you have to just be able to adjust. The main thing is when you create this schedule, it's for you as a school counselor. It's also for your leadership team. But just know that some things can be adjusted and adapted. As you know, as an educator, you're going to have to be able to adapt. So that's a really good question. Sorry, y'all. Siri thought I was talking to her. That's a really good question. All right. Let me make sure. All right. We appreciate your time in doing this. Coming in as a first year counselor. Oh, hi, Amanda. I'm so happy that you're here. Let me go back to this. So if you weren't here to hear this, first year counselors are my favorite. I love helping you all because, like I said, there's some first year counselors where you come in and literally throw you to the wolves and you got to figure out all this on your own. And thankfully, that was not my experience. And I don't want anybody to have to go through that. So that's why I'm doing this summer series of trainings. Like I said, the next one is going to be, I'm actually going to flip these because I believe it's like, these are the top 4. There wasn't any particular order, but these are the top 4. I'm going to talk about how you plan your classroom counseling lessons. So again, I'm going to share 3 different ways that you can plan this without having a curriculum. If you have one that your school purchased, that's great. But if you don't, I'm going to share ways that you can do this without sharing. So you're really not going to want to miss that one. And if you do, like I said, these will be available on a replay later on. So I'm going to always share these later. New school counselor expectations. Like, what should I expect walking into the door as a school counselor the first week of school, the first day, the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? We're going to talk about what you should expect as a school counselor. And I really believe this is going to be another session where I'm going to have a big turnout. So I really can't wait for you all to come for that one. And then the last one, I'm going to share how you as a school counselor can create a trauma-informed, sensitive school and what interventions you can share for your staff and students. So those are the top 4. Actually, there's a lot more that you all had. And I'm going to share that list in a minute, too. I look forward to it. Thank you. Also, feel free if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, or if you have to leave in just a few minutes. This one I usually was going to do between 30 and 40 minutes. I know the other one's going to be a lot longer because there's so much information in there. But like I said, feel free to take care of yourself. This will be available on the replay later on. So yes, I do share my schedule with the school leader, Sandra, and I share it for myself. I also share it with the fellow team, my school counselor. So there's 3 of us. We each have a grade level. So next year, I'm going to have 8th grade. We loop with our kids. So I have 8th grade this year. And I share it with my co-counselors. And yes, Lisa, it is all about being flexible. And Yolanda, awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to do the trauma-informed schooling because I've already got that presentation ready. All I got to do is adapt it a little bit, but I've got that pretty much done. The other ones, like this one, I made this one on the spot. I kind of made this one Tuesday, but it didn't take long. It took like maybe 30 minutes. All right, so Sharon has a question or a comment. I was thinking of how in school counseling I was told that each month we follow a theme that is decided upon by LASCA. I thought everybody in Texas was doing the same thing at the same time. Okay, so here's the thing. You can think that every counselor is doing the same thing. So there's some things that you do as a counselor that are non-negotiables, and that's your program stuff, like your individual sessions, your responsive services, all that stuff. But every school is going to look so different as far as the school counselor for a number of reasons. One, the population that you serve could be different, and the things that you're going to do is going to depend on that. Your leadership team, I'm going to be very transparent with you all. Some school leaders do not know what a school counselor does, especially newer school leaders, and I'm not like talking bad about them, I'm not downing them or anything. I'm just saying that sometimes our job is so ambiguous that sometimes people don't know what we actually do, and it's our job as school counselors to share and advocate for our role and tell people what we do. So it's not going to look the same on every campus at all. So, but here's the thing: if someone's told you on your campus this is how we do things and this is what we're going to do, then that's different. Now, I know in Texas there are some things that we do, like for example, Gen Tex Week, Texas Week, where we talk about college and career. That's a specific time, and I do that part. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all going to look different. Am I wrong in thinking about how this calendar goes out to Texas School Council? I thought we do the same things theme-wise. Can you share like what an example of what you think that we do theme-wise monthly? Because like I said, for my school, I create everything on my own. I do everything from scratch. We have Character Strong, and I use that as a focal point. But for the most part, like I plan everything. I plan all of our events, like our Red Ribbon Week, Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, like all those things. I plan those, and so there's no specific way that anybody's asking me to plan it. Of course, you want to team up with your leadership team and like keep them involved and informed of all the things that you do. But there's no specific guideline or manual that says that this is what you have to do during this time. So any assistance with group lessons without a curriculum? Yes. All right. So I'm going to talk about how to do classroom counseling lessons without curriculum, but I also can do another session. This will be separate, of course, but how to do small group planning without a curriculum. But yeah, Sharon, if you want to talk offline, and you can always shoot me a message on Instagram, and we can talk through it. I would love to help you plan, especially as a new counselor. If you're a new counselor, I don't want to get anybody confused. The whole purpose is I wanted you all to see, like, as you coming in, it's really important for you to go ahead and make your own schedule, share it with your leadership team, and make sure that they are aware of what your schedule is. Dallas, Fort Worth, and a little town, South Sea. 12 total. Our school counselors meet once a month. We plan lessons based on the theme of that month geared towards the grade. Oh, that's cool. See, in bigger district, I'm in Houston. And I'm not a large school district, but it's it's larger than 12 schools. And that's really awesome that you all meet like that. We do our monthly. We do meet with other school counselors, but it's not monthly, and we don't plan with everyone else because all our campuses at our district are so different as far as like the population they serve, the needs, everything is different. So there's no way we will be able to plan it like that. That's awesome that you all do that though. That's really cool. And what does it look like for you to help with transition to high school? That's a really good question too. Let me go back up. Who asked that question? Sorry, I should have brought my mouse. Tariq. So yes, we do generally in January and February. I do help with the transition. So the fifth graders coming in, we have a session with them to kind of introduce them to the school, do a tour. We do like a couple breakout sessions with them, help them create their schedule, and simultaneously we do help the eighth graders transition to high school. So that's always done in January and February. And again, when you're creating your schedule, let me go back to it. When you're creating your schedule, just know that there are certain times and part of the year where you're going to be busier than others, and all of this can be adjusted. That's actually, I'm glad you said that, because look, for example, here when I do small groups, I usually do small groups during the first half of the semester. So like right before Thanksgiving or Christmas break, I usually don't do a whole lot of small groups in January through May because there's so much going on. There's prep for like state testing, there's transition meetings, getting the master schedule ready, like a lot of stuff. Like January through May is super, super busy. So this may be my schedule, and it could be set from August through September to December, but some of this can be adapted, especially later on in parts of the year. So that's really good. I'm glad that you shared that. So I do help with transitions to high school. We do the 4-year plans for the eighth graders, all of that. And it's generally done in January and February. I would love to see an elementary school calendar example. If you happen to have one, could you share? I do have one. I didn't plan to put it on here. If you give me just a second, y'all bear with me. I can see if I can pull it up real quick, and I can share my elementary school counselor schedule because that's actually good. I'm glad you asked that. This is my middle school schedule. I haven't used I didn't share the elementary school counselor one because I haven't used that schedule in a couple of years. I haven't been an elementary school counselor since 2017, I believe, but I can share it because y'all want to see it. So hold on a second. Share screen. Give me just a second, y'all. I'm gonna share it. Okay. All right, can y'all, there you go. This is my elementary school counselor schedule. So let me make it a little bit better so you can see the whole thing. Let me see, is that too small? Can y'all see it? Give me a, if it's big enough, do a thumbs up. If it's not, I can adjust it. Because it's a little different on my screen. Lisa said we created our district counselor lessons for elementary. Hey, Tanya, Mr. B. I've been following your material a couple weeks. Hey, good. I'm glad you dropped in. Let me make it a little bigger, just a little, and then I'll just scroll down. Okay, so someone asked me to share a copy of my elementary school counselor schedule. Now, this one still has the name of the teachers, which is not a big deal. I have students' names on here too, but they're just first names, and this is like 4 or 5 years old, so it's not that big of a deal. It's very similar. Now, keep in mind, this is something I did during my second year as a school counselor, so this one doesn't look as neat as the other one does, but it's got the basic stuff in here. As you can see, I've got times blocked off for my individual sessions. The main difference that you'll notice here is when I was an elementary school counselor, we had different block schedule. So in yellow, these are the classes that I would go see during week 1, or A week is what we call it, A week. So during that week in yellow, these are all the teachers that I would go see, and these are set times. So again, I didn't get a chance to choose when I would do classroom lessons under this leadership. This was like literally the time that I had available. So on 9:30 to 10:05 every Tuesday of A week, I would go see Miss Ransom for her kids. And I actually put on here how many students were on here. And I put this on here because I needed to know how many copies I needed to make when I made worksheets and different things for them and materials. So as you can see, that's actually good. I would suggest doing it, especially if you're elementary school counselor, even in middle school if you go do lessons, but like put in parentheses or to the side how many students you have to go see. So during A week, these are all the classes that I will go see. In green and B, that was my B week. These are the classes that I would go see during B week. And then it was kind of weird the way it was done, but there were certain classes that I would see every single week, and it was generally on Friday. So that's this like salmon color here. I would go see these classes every single Friday. And it was kind of strange, honestly, because I had to plan extra lessons for them. So like I said, the A week and B week, I only saw those classes twice a month. But then I've got my weekly session. I saw them 4 times a month. So they got more class sessions than other students. So I always had to be really creative with that. And that was just the way that our schedule worked. Let me go back and see if we have any questions. It's still too small. Okay, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. I'll just make it 100%, and then I'll just have to scroll down. Is that better? Let me see if I can do it like 150%. Yeah, I mean, it's harder to see, but let me scroll over just a little bit. Thank y'all for sharing that. Okay, there we go. That you don't have to see the whole thing just to get the idea. But like I said, the ones in yellow, those were that I saw on A week. The classes in yellow I saw on A week. The classes I saw on B week is in green. And in this salmon color, I saw them every single Friday. Okay, you need my Facebook group link. I will share it. Let me hold on a second, y'all. I will share that with y'all. If you're not a member of my Facebook group, I share a lot of free resources in the file section. You can go look for those. I'm going to drop it in the chat so you can get to that. Hold on a second. I'll drop the link. You should be able to get to it this way. Hold on. If not, it's on my Insta. If you watch any of my YouTube videos and go to the description section, it's in there. So either way, I'll find a way to get it to you all. In fact, let me make note. If you're following me on Instagram, I'll put it. Make sure you can see it too. All right. Thanks, okay. Thank you, Davlin. I'm glad that's better. Based on the needs is why you saw them more often. Well, yes and no, Sandra. So my school leader basically told me the way our schedule worked, that was just the classes that I needed to see. It was kind of crazy. I can't even really explain it because it was a school leadership decision. But part of it was probably based on needs too, because that group was a little rowdier than the other ones. But yes. Are there any other elementary school counselors here willing to connect? Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, network with each other, y'all. And like I said, on my Instagram, I share resources too. Let me see, go back down. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Oh, thank you. Why did you have to do PBIS planning each week? So that was mainly I kind of blocked that schedule in. I didn't have to do planning, but like that was the time that I was set. Like if I wanted to like review our school matrix, review the data from the PBIS team meetings, that kind of stuff. So sometimes that was one of those things that could be easily adjustable. Like sometimes I didn't have to like do PBIS planning, and I could use that time to either meet with students or do planning for something else. But for the most part, it was mainly just to like review data and stuff. All right. Any other questions about the schedule I've got here? This is the elementary school schedule that I've used. If not, I'm gonna go back to, thank you, Brian, I appreciate that. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the presentation that I had on here. Give me just a second, y'all. Because I want to share with some other things that are coming up that you might be interested in knowing. Here we go. All right. So we talked about the 4 that are coming up. This is the one that we just talked about, the individuals, how do you make your schedule. I'm going to talk about how to plan your classroom counseling lessons. We're going to talk about like new school counselor expectations. If you're a new school counselor, what should I expect coming in the door? We're going to talk about how to create a trauma-sensitive school. So those are the top ones. These are going to be over the next couple weeks. But these are some of the other ones. So I got on Instagram Live last Saturday, and I just it was basically just a time for me to ask, all right, what do you all need as school counselors or people who are thinking about becoming school counselors? And I got a lot of feedback, which was really good and really helpful. So what I did is I took some time to kind of aggregate that data and figure out like what was I going to do first. And so that's why these are the top 4, but these were also very high on the list. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to talk about how to organize small groups, mental health tools to support students at all grade levels. I'm actually really excited about that one. Self-harm and suicide support. This will be done probably a little bit more before September, because September is suicide awareness. So we're going to talk about that a little bit before September. Using movement and during classroom counseling lessons. You can do this during elementary, middle, and high school if they're silly enough to where you want to do it. Classroom management tips, 504 trainings, which, yeah, I know, I hear all the groans online. Yes, sometimes counselors have to do 504. I'm very blessed to not have to do 504 at my school, but there are a lot of counselors who have to do 504s, and sometimes you don't really know where to start. How to do community circles, how to structure classroom counseling lessons. So I'm going to walk through like how do you create a lesson plan and like what do you do to keep students engaged. Getting teacher buy-in. So that's going to be a really interesting one, because as a counselor, you have to learn how to build connections with everybody you work with. And then data tracking. So those are some of the ones that are coming up soon. When you did PBIS planning, did your admin meet with you in a team? Yes, Sharon, we did meet as a team for admin for PBIS training. So I'm going to keep this on the screen for a couple seconds. I'm going to stick around for about another 5 minutes. If you have questions, please share them in the chat. Or if you see something that's not on this list that you feel that would really be beneficial to you, drop it in the chat too. So again, I'm going to stick around for about 5 more minutes. If you see something that's not on here and you want to, if something you're interested in or something you feel like you need as a free training, drop it in the chat and I'll add it to the list. So what I plan on doing over the next couple of weeks is organizing these and do another poll on Instagram to see what's the greatest need, and then we'll go from there. So like I said, as I did here, these were the top 4 based on the poll results from like Instagram, social media, TikTok, Twitter, like all the places I shared this on, and people responded. But these are the other ones that people were interested in. So I'm going to do another poll to see what's the greatest need. Thank you so much for your great mind. God will reward you. Oh, thank you. I'm a new school counselor and been frustrated on how to go about it. I thank God for connecting with you. Yes. Like I said, please come back. What I plan on doing, I picked Thursday. This was kind of a random day, but what I want to plan on doing is having a very set schedule where I do live trainings, and like that way, like every whatever it's going to be. I think it's going to be Saturday morning. If you're able to join in, that's great. If you're not, I'm going to always have a replay available so you can go back and watch this whenever you can. So don't feel like you have to be like, oh my gosh, I have to come right then and there. If you can, that's awesome. And I would love for you to do it because I can answer questions in the moment. Just like y'all ask questions here, I can answer those right then. But if you're not able to, you can always watch the replay. All right, looking forward to it. Yes, awesome. I'm glad y'all are here. Hey, Jennifer, I don't think I saw you in here, but thank you for coming. So like I said, 3 more minutes. If you have anything else that you feel like you would like to know about, because this is a pretty exhaustive list. It's really good. And I know that these are things that you will really help you. But if you feel like it's something that you that's missing from this list, please share it in the chat. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to sign off. But thank y'all for joining. Like I said, I didn't plan for this one to be very long because it was really cut and dry. I just wanted you all to see how to create your schedule, like what things that you should be able to consider when you're creating your schedule as a school counselor, and just give you kind of like a blueprint to follow. Program development according to ASCA. I'm glad you shared that one. That's a really, really good one. So I have to plan for that too. I might do that one before school starts. Program development. That's a really good, Miss Martin. Thank y'all for coming. I'm so happy that you all came in. And like I said, if you weren't able to like do it live, this is going to be available for the replay. So I'm glad that you all are here. And I'm going to share this. I was kind of nervous about sharing live sessions like on my YouTube channel and posting it, but because, you know, lives are more like, this is who you are. Like when you do a YouTube video, you can edit out all the ums and all that other stuff. But here, this is live, like in color, live in color. And so, but either way, I'm going to make it available for you all. So like if you want to go back and watch this later on and take notes, or you have questions that you think of later on and go, like, oh, I forgot to ask him this. I wonder if I can still ask him. Yes, you can. Reach out to me on Instagram, Counseling with Mr. B. And you can just send me a DM and say, hey, can you do a training on so-and-so? I really would love to hear this. And like I said, you can always follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, watch out for the weekly lives. Thank you so much for providing us with this space. I'm anxious to start in August. All right, Tanya, I hope I'm saying your name right. I hope I'm saying it right. But I got you set. Trust me. What I plan on sharing with you all before school starts in August, if you take these tips, you're going to walk in and you're going to feel more confident because I'm going to give you some stuff that like nobody will ever share with you as a school counselor. I'm telling you, like you can go to at the beginning of the year, they usually do like an orientation for new teachers and sometimes for counselors too. But it's more of a like, I don't know. I don't want to like downplay anything, but I just know that there's a lot to process and a lot to think about as a brand new counselor. And sometimes I feel like they don't prepare you like right away. But if you come to my live trainings every week, you will walk in the door already ahead of the game. You'll be more prepared from school counselors that don't have who come to this training. So trying to prevent dealing with imposter syndrome. You know what? If that's something y'all are willing to talk about too, I can do one on imposter syndrome too, like how to beat imposter syndrome as a school counselor. Because here's the thing. You can look on Pinterest, you can look on Instagram, YouTube, and see all these school counselors and think, man, I wish I could do what they're doing. And you can, and that's not bad. But at the same time, you have to work within your gifts, work within your talents, and then kind of take things as you go. Because as a new counselor, you're going to come in and you're going to have all these fresh ideas, but then you really have to like adjust and adapt to the role. And you're not going to be able to do everything at once. You're not going to be able to do small groups right away. You may not be able to teach classes right away. But I'm going to talk about that in one of the future sessions, like when we talk about what new counselor expectations is. So let me go back. So right here, when we talk about new school counselor expectations, we're going to talk about what to expect when you walk in the door and realistically. So I don't want you to go in and like try to do everything and be burnt out, but I'm going to give you some tips and tools and resources to help you plan for the first 30 days, first 60 days, first 90 days, all of that. All right, so it is 7:51. I'm going to log off of here. Thank you for your help. Oh, hey, Sharon, I speak Spanish too. In November, we will have the Alaska conference in Dallas. I'm going more than likely. I went last year. I don't know if you were there last year, but I was at the Alaska conference in December or November. Yeah. Did you go, Sharon? But yeah, I was at Alaska last year, and I look forward to coming this year. Hopefully, my district will pay for it again. So, but anyway, all right, log off, y'all, if you have to go. Like I said, this wasn't going to be a long session, but I wanted to make sure you all had the information available to know how to create your schedule. Oh, cool. Well, this time in November, I will be sure to look for you. So, all right, y'all, have a good evening. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. I'm going to share, just like I shared when this one's available, I'm going to heavily promote it so you will have time to prepare and know when to come on, sign on, so you can be here live and ask questions. But until then, I'll see y'all later. Have a good evening.